Hello, my name is Jeff Pagano, and welcome to the Harpin and Rugby Preview Show. Joining me today to look ahead to Saturday's match at the RDS is someone in for his 38th Harpin cap. A warm welcome back to Mr. Neil Keego Keegan, who is that way.
How are we? How are we? It's nearly a cap for a year now, so we're moving on quick. Hope you're well.
That's it. I'm well indeed. Well, before we get into the match, maybe you want to give us a few thoughts about the Leinster season so far.
Yeah, this is the thing. It's a bit like having your heart broken time and time again by keep going back to the wrong person. Don't get too deep. That's not a reflection of my own real life, but it's starting to happen here. You know, we build ourselves up. Something happens in a semi-final, final, whether it's tiredness or beast, whatever it is. And I think this year, as we say every year, but this year feels different. We talk about it every week. The minutes they're putting in all the boots, we're going to talk about it again today. The way they're structuring the teams going forward so that should something happen, someone's ready to sit in there. We've got players who have played in multiple positions. Osborne tomorrow. We've had Jimmy O'Brien playing nearly everywhere from water boy to fullback to wing to centre. All these things are building to mitigate those things that have happened before. So it's just something. I woke up this morning frightened because it's going so well. And then as I get my coffee into me, I'm starting to feel a bit better. So this is a new year. And I think the way everything is lining up for where the tournaments are being played, you know, it's starting to get momentum proper now. And as we hit Christmas and get past Christmas, we're going to see all that come to fruition.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you look back over, previous seasons and the heartaches we've had towards the end, like against the likes of La Rochelle and Saracens, I mean, we've all talked about the reasons for them, but the one thing you can't say is that Leinster haven't done things in that early part of the season to try to prepare for that. I mean, there's only so much you can do, but I think it's pretty sure that Leinster are doing everything they can, like you say, getting more players in, looking at different aspects of the game, showing up the defense even more if that's possible, and all this different stuff. So it is definite that we're making an effort on that front.
Yeah, 100%. And we had a chat during the week about it too, where in terms of defense, where I was kind of getting worried about the soak defense that we're all doing, and we're very comfortable and nothing's challenging us really. We can't depend on that going forward. And we were set straight during the week that that's not going to be a game plan when we get to the business end of the season. We're kind of testing formations and testing our limits really at the moment, because we know we can score tries. It's a matter of figuring out how we deal with oncoming offense.
Absolutely. And on the defense, like if anything, it helped us. Our defense was too good in the Champions Cup final, because I mean, we left it. It took them so long to get that final try. We didn't have time to get back and score one ourselves. So it could work both ways. But hopefully the work they're doing now will sort things out. And this match this weekend is a good way to get into the Champions Cup frame of mind. And let's start harping on it, shall we? As you can see there, it's Leinster against Ulster in the BKT United Rugby Championship. It's round 9, so when it's over, we'll already be at the halfway stage. It's taking place at the RDS Arena on Saturday, December 3rd, kicking off at 7:35 p.m., being shown on TG Cahir, via Play 1, which used to be called Premier Sports, and URC TV, where you can get all access to all matches for $6.99 a month. Leinster named their match day squad at lunchtime on Friday. So why don't we get to harping on it, starting with the back line? And,
yeah, absolutely. Could I just point out before you get into that? Apologies, I'm wearing orange today. That's not on purpose. I've got my blue on top, and half my family's from up north, so I've got to keep everyone on side when it comes to Christmas presents coming down south. So
I wasn't noticing the orange, Keego. It was more the rival podcast headgear that you've got on top. I'm only messing. Okay, so let's get into the back line. It's Hugo Keenan at fullback. The wingers are James Lowe and Jimmy O'Brien. The centers Jamie Osborne and Gary Ringrose, and the halfbacks Jemison, Gibson Park, and Ross Byrne.
Listen, absolutely love it. It's great to see the three lads back, Lowe, JGP and Keenan. Looking forward to seeing Lowe, because there's pressure on him now. With Jimmy coming back and getting into that big jersey and having some of the same weapons that Lowe has. It's going to be interesting to see how he gets on. Again, getting minutes in the boots. Good to see Gibson Park back. I love our captain on the day. I love Osborne now has been switched into 12. So again, that's another position that he's played. So he's 2 wings and a center. Jimmy 2 wings and a center. It sounds like a chipper order, but we're seeing that should the thing happen that we mentioned at the beginning of the show, if that happens, there's 2 players that can cover 3 positions each. I love it. And our captain is our leader, a massive leader this year so far in Ringrose.
Yeah, we were thinking during the week about when we saw the injury report and we saw that Charlie Nate got an injury there. So with Frawley out, we already knew Henshaw was out, and now Nate. The question was like, who's going to fit in there 12 coming into Europe and stuff. And this is a pretty decent choice. He's been playing really well, and it's good to see him in the back line, and he's got really good experience at Gary Ringrose. And on the off chance that Osborne does make a mistake at 12, I don't think there's anyone in World Rugby better at cleaning up from a mistake situation than Gary Ringrose. So that's a good. It's a good pairing, considering it's one that's kind of thrown together for a match like this. And we've been talking about the big left boot that Leinster and Ireland both seem to need. And we've used James Lowe in the past. We've used Osborne for the past. We've used Jimmy O'Brien for that in the past. And we've got all three of them now. So we've got left boots coming out of our ears for clearance situations. So that's definitely a lot to look forward to there. Right. So we're going to move on to the pack now. And in the front row, we've got Cian Healy, Ronan Kelleher, and Michael Alatoa. Second row, James Ryan, Jason Jenkins. And the back row, Ryan Baird, Josh van der Fleer, who happens to be World Player of the Year, I think, and Jack Conan.
Look, it's a frightening embarrassment of riches. I love seeing Cian Healy start a game. Again, similar to Dave Kearney we spoke about during the week, he's 115 years of age, not slowing down, taking care of himself. And listen, he's another leader on the pitch. Kelleher, minutes in the boots, really, really important for every single jersey. Alatoa, similar to Ed Byrne, I don't think we're fully appreciating him yet. I know he's newer than Ed, but I think we are going to be talking about them in 10 years' time with a beer at the bar, talking about the job they've done. Ryan and Jenkins, I think, is our top line second row. They both complement each other so well, and I think Ryan. I don't know whether the elastic band on the testicles has been tightened recently, but he's starting to play similar to the pre-injury run he had. He's angry, and he's, some of the line-out steals in November were class, and I think he's starting to get that confidence back with Jenkins right there to bully him, similar to the Heinze role we had years ago. It is fantastic. Obviously, we love Heinze. There's a slight skill differential there with Jenkins, but it's brilliant. And then our back row, I hear he's World Player of the Year. He's the first name on every sheet. You know what I mean? It's again an embarrassment. I would be gutted for a lot of the people who are outside of that six players in rotation that we kind of have. You look at the players like Rullick, who absolute class player for a long time, doesn't always get a look in because of these guys. Ryan Baird, I think, is class. They're all getting a run of form in. I think Conan, again, is similar. I don't think we appreciate Conan enough, even though he is super appreciated. It's a monster team. Even though there's a target on the back of the blue jersey every time, especially in the RDS, Ulster have to come back and combat that team that you've just mentioned. Knowing what's been happening in the season so far, the opening attack or the opening defense is demoralizing. They know that there's a combative nature mixed with the skill now with that Leinster team that we may have missed in the past. That's a huge thing for an Ulster team to come down and take on. Now they've picked a great squad as well, but again, if we pick one team out of the 15 that start, there's not many in white that would make that one squad.
Absolutely, and going from the forwards, looking at this bench now, I mean, just reading it out there, especially the first few names: Dan Sheehan, Andrew Porter, Tyke Furlong, Ross Maloney, Quaylen Doris, and Nick McCarthy, Charlie Tector, and Liam Turner.
I've written it down here. The benches are going to tell a big story here too, because Ulster have tried to load their bench too. It's frightening. You know what I mean? Kelleher comes in and he's showing that superpower that he's had, and it's amazing for him to come back at the level he has without that kind of warm-up period. But then you've got Sheehan to come on. You've got Porter, you've got Furlong. I'd love to see Cian Healy get as much time as he can, just to, not that he needs it, he's experienced and he's ready to rock, but imagine 60 minutes gone, that front row comes on. It's frightening, the job they've done. But that whole squad, and you look at Charlie there as well, Liam Turner as well, it's a mixture of leaders, experience, world elite level players, and you've got guys coming on as well, like Nick McCarthy, Tector and Turner as well, to mix with them, so that when it's their turn, they're not frightened when they see Furlong warming up beside them. Not that they would be, but they're not awed by the occasion. It's going to be sold out. It's a pre-Christmas game. The annual leave at work starts this weekend for a lot of people. So it's going to be a party. And this is going to be a big atmosphere for those new guys on the bench coming on. I think they'll come on before we bring on the big guns, but it's what a squad.
Yeah, absolutely. There's loads to be said for those forwards, but I mean, you look at the backs as well. Nick McCarthy has done well coming on, and Liam Turner. I've been saying a lot about him. He's getting selected for a lot of. He could have gone a lot of other ways. We could have gone a 6-2 split on the bench ourselves, but they've showed faith in him. I mean, there's plenty of cover. You said yourself the starting backs can play a lot of different positions, but they seem to be going to Liam Turner. They make him captain against Chile. They're starting him in games and stuff like that, and he is in the bench for this one, so his stock is really rising at the province. And Charlie Tector, hopefully he'll get some minutes at the boots at the end, as you say, because he's definitely the future for us at 10. So it's definitely a good bench there. Okay, so now we move on to our opposition, namely Ulster Rugby. As always, my great graphics department is going to put their lineup on the screen down below, so I won't read it out. But if you're listening, you'll hear it on the podcast. You'll hear it. You'll read the team and the program notes. It looks pretty close to a full-strength lineup with that 6-2 split on the bench, like you said.
Yeah, 100%. And there's some interesting matchups there. You got our midfields. You got Osborne and McCluskey there lined up in the same midfield opposite each other, which is going to be interesting because McCluskey's on a run of form, obviously, which is great to see. And Osborne wants that jersey. Osborne wants that step up. So this is a great clash to watch right in the middle of the field. They're going to get nasty. They're both big boys. They're both ready to rock and roll. You got Marty Moore starts, and he's again on a run of form. He's coming back to the RDS. Maybe he might feel a little bit hard done by, but he's found form again, and he's starting to get a look in the shop window in the big jersey too. Treadwell, always worth the price of admission, but again, it's a big test for him up against our 4 and 5. Alan O'Connor, I think he's quite a supporting player. I think Treadwell is the leader in that area. Hendo coming back, which for the big jersey we need. It's going to be interesting to see how he combats that 6, 7, and 8 that we have, because he's beyond aggressive, which is great too. And then you got Cooney. We talked about our kicking threats. We got the left boots all over the place. Ulster have a couple, but they don't have as many as we do for pressure, depressurization, I guess. Word of the day, toilet paper that came up today. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on him. But they can't pick a better team. They have a decent bench coming on as well. Again, in terms of which bench do you pick, there's only one bench you pick. But they've got Herring, they've got O'Toole, Vermeulen, Doak, ready to come on and try and change the game. But I said at the end of a lot of these games, when you come at the Kings, best not miss. They can't miss a shot. They have to be perfect for 80 plus minutes. They have to have the gas to go 80 minutes against that Leinster team, especially with that bench that's going to happen. I feel we're going to send a message this weekend. I feel that this is going to be Leinster pointing at that crest on the jersey and saying, we're the top dogs here. There's a big gap between us and the rest of you.
Yep. We had Ian Frizzell on the pod during the week talking about their season so far. It's interesting. He said that Ulster have gotten off to good starts in all their matches this season, but except for one game, and that happened to be when we were in town. This is the second time we played them this season already, and they tried to come at us in the first few minutes, and we held them out with the defensive stand on the 22, which kind of shut them down, and it really got us into the match. So it's going to be all how it starts. I think the key position for this game in particular is scrum half. There was another article there during the week about how John Cooney is talking about maybe looking at his Scottish options now that he's got relatives there, and he's got the possibility with the new rules to switch over, and which is ironic because he never quite made it into the Ireland team. But then Jamison Gibson Park, who's a similar type of 9, he ended up, he has made that position his own, and he plays that high tempo kind of game as well. So be interesting to see the two of them come together as if the game needed any more needle. But that's definitely something to look out for there. Right, so we're going to move on now to the officials, and they seem to be mixing it up now. It used to always be Irish officials for the Interpros, but they're now mixing it up a lot more. We've got Christoph Ridley over from the RFU doing that. And you see the other officials there. The weather for Dublin on Saturday evening is supposed to be cloudy, cold, chilly 5 degrees, 25% chance of rain, and not much of a wind to speak of heading towards the south stand. Which brings us to head on the block time. and it's time to make a few predictions and see if Keego's done a super brew this week. You talk about what jerseys you're wearing. You know who finishes last. You know what they've got to do. They've got to wear the jersey of shame. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I need to pick up my game here on this super
definitely.
brew. I'm teetering at the brink of relegation here.
There's wooden spoons all over the place. We'll start with this game, Leinster v Ulster. How do you see it finishing?
Usually I'm more conservative than you when it comes to this, but I think this weekend is going to be more along your lines in terms of scoreline. I do think that Leinster are going to send a massive message. You look at the team they've picked. I think it's Leinster by a big score, and it's going to surprise a lot of people. I'm going 15 plus.
Very good, because we've actually done the opposite this week. I went the other way. I still think Leinster are going to finish on top. I think we will get early scores. But I can see Ulster scoring as well and getting some in there. I have us by 6 at the end, but no, it definitely could go that way depending on depending on how things go. Just a couple of other matches just to give your thoughts on. We can't have you on without talking about Munster just a little bit. They're playing. They're going to Edinburgh on Friday evening. How do you see that going?
I don't know. Well, let's be honest. I hope they win. I do like the squad they picked. I think I'm just checking it now. Have they picked your man Frisch? Yes. So he was very impressive in the South Africa A game. I think they need sparks like that to come in. Frisch, they've got Carberry starts. I'm just screaming through this now, and I think Casey needs to calm down a wee bit after last week. I'm hoping for a very, very short Munster win. So that we can all be friends with our Munster brothers and sisters over Christmas. Back to normal January.
Indeed. And Connacht hosts Benetton on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, I saw the Connacht team. Very impressive. I do think they need to concentrate more. Benetton they're no joke. They're, again, anytime you come over to Ireland and you can take a scalp, you want that on your record. It's heart and head stuff. It's going to be close. Let's go for it. Connacht by 6.
Very good. Okay, well, listen, we're going to leave it there, man. Many thanks, Keego, for joining me today. Hope you have a good weekend, sir.
Absolutely. You too. All the best to everybody.
And to the viewers and listeners, be sure to enjoy the match wherever you are. And if you want to get involved in the conversation yourself during the match, we're covering on Mastodon these days. So why don't you join us before heading to the Facebook page for your final thoughts. We'll share all the best comments on our wrap-up pod this Sunday evening. In the meantime, stay safe, everyone. Slán.